bring it back. It's going to take a reverse sweep at this point. Maybe they can do it. Fnatic banning out the Cassio, don't want to see it again. Kalista also going to be off the table.
So, it's not going to happen, but I'm going to say it anyway. H2K, I want them to stop banning away the Gnar. I want them to ban away Tristana and Xayah, force Fnatic onto some other AD carry, and then just play something like a Jace into the Gnar. I know Odo Omne can do it. Right now, he might not feel confident, but I feel like it is a strategy that H2K as a team should be perfectly capable of executing. Jankos has been considered one of the best early game junglers that we have in Europe, and Odo Omne is really talented. You can play towards this top side. It just relies a little bit on confidence to try and set it up.
I mean, the hard thing for Fnatic is, also for H2K, is the fact that their draft was really good. They were doing a lot of good stuff in that game, but they lost due to misplays. So they might try and get some of the same, but they're leaving that Tristana open once again for Regulus to take it.
And now we have to hope that H2K will immediately take the Alistar, because if not, they will be in the exact same situation they were in Game 1. And remember, they got obliterated in Game 1, and that's the adaptation
I like this.
we wanted to see.
I like this a lot. So by leaving the Gnar open, they can get it for themselves. And now the pressure is on Fnatic to try and find some kind of an answer. Likelihood is they're just going to lock in their jungler. They might try and go for an early mid lane pick here. Or they just go for one of the more defensive supports. Maybe even a Janna to answer the Alistar.
Yeah, one of the counters to Alistar is, you know, Ardent Sensor range support, because you can win the lane super hard against him. If H2K felt like they were going to get a safe laning phase now, where they would not be under a lot of pressure by taking away the Alistar, well, then they are wrong, because now they will get pushed to tower over and over and over. It is very difficult to play this lane. Sivir is still the expected AD carry choice against this Tristana here, but it's a tough one for Nuclear and Chain. They even leave the Sivir for now and let Fnatic potentially just ban it away.
Fnatic, though, may not be so concerned with what Nuclear is going to play. He has been suffering in the series thus far. Did have a decent Xayah game in Game 2. Still, however, was not enough. Mid lane and AD carry left to be picked. See what they want to go for. Maybe we'll see something new. Maybe it will still be the Sivir. H2K, though, have priority in the bans. What are they going to take off the table?
I mean, top lane is where Fnatic have so far not shown their pick, which is why H2K can pinch that role. I do not know if H2K are afraid of a Source Jace and want to actually ban it next time. It's not something we've seen Source use, you know, a whole lot here in the summer split. And there's a chance he just plays Maokai.
Unless they ban it away, of course.
Unless they ban the Maokai. That's the thing, right? If HK is like, you're not going to play Jace, we can ban Maokai instead. If they actually are afraid he might play the Jace, they will ban the Jace.
Really, actually, incredibly curious to see what Soas is going to go to here.
They say, you do not play Jace, you do not play Maokai either now.
Maybe a cannon could be on the cards, though. I do feel like that is something that Soas has brought out before. I know you guys hate AP cannon.
Oh, I hate it so much!
So useless every time I watch it.
But it's a possibility in terms of options for Fnatic to go for. The most obnoxious champions for a cannon to play against are Tristana and a Janna and a Gragas. They've all been taken off the board.
And of course, Nuclear, known for the Ashe and the Varus in so many scenarios. They want to put him onto a less comfortable matchup. Does get his hands on the Caitlyn, not as popular as she once was.
There's also a world where it is Gragas top for Soas. If he doesn't feel like he has any good matchups left he wants to play, and you can pick things like a Zac in the jungle for Broxa. There's always the chance of doing that. But it is most likely just going to be Gragas jungle. It is the preferred pick for Broxa, and we get Syndra once again. Last game, not very successful in the early game. Did not play around the lane at all. Broxa went to the top lane instead, trying to babysit Soas. And did actually cross caps quite a lot, but by removing the Cassiopeia here, he's not going to face that same matchup.
Really debating. Still the potential flex pick. Doesn't look like we're going to get it. It looks like instead, we're going to have a bit of a throwback. Gentlemen, Shen in the top lane. Oh, man, so many potential options here on the opposite side for H2K, but very classic Fnatic comp.
We saw the Shen yesterday from Vizicachi into Odo, and unfortunately for him, he fell behind very hard in the early game, which allowed Odo to run absolute rampant off in a side lane. This matchup can be very dependent on who gets that early lead and how much of an advantage it is. But in terms of teamfight, I feel like H2K have a pretty big advantage with the amount of overall crowd control they have, their scaling, but also their ability to see. They have a lot of poke with this composition that they've drafted.
So got that Caitlyn from Nuclear, not the Sivir, trying to get bit more power in his early laning phase, but after the Caitlyn nerfs happened, it obviously cost her quite a lot in the early game, and again, you're still facing a Janna on the side of Fnatic with this Tristana here, so it will be a very hard lane for Nuclear and Che to play, also just based on the individual skill compared to who they're facing, and they cannot afford to fall super far behind.
And if they can make it to the mid game, if they can get a lead even in the early game, elsewhere on the map, you have the Gnar for the Siege, the Corki for the Siege, Caitlyn with 5 traps to set up. It's going to be very difficult for Fnatic to deal with. But Fnatic are also one of the best teams, I would say the best team in the EU LCS right now, using Shen at that level 6 point to just blow open a lead.
When it comes to engaging against a Siege comp though, that's where I have a few concerns for Fnatic. I know a lot of people say, but there's a Gragas, he can always all in, and that is true. But when Broxah was put on the sole engaged champion in the semi-final, he did not pull the trigger. He was much better as a follow-up player. So Jess has played a lot of support, a lot of engage, or Soa's played a lot of engage. Now it is back on Broxah. If that Siege is being set up, he needs to be the man who dives in with the Shen ulti on to get into that, backline of H2K. If he doesn't do it, then suddenly Corki and Caitlyn will do a lot of work on the towers.
Chance for Broxah to prove himself, a chance for H2K to fire back as we move to Game 3. Fnatic, 1 win stands between them and a spot at Worlds, but H2K, it's going to take the reverse sweep.
It's
gonna
yes.
Coming back against the crowd.
Thanks for the support to Fischio. But it feels like the support is heavily in favor of the Fnatic squad for the time being. But it looks like we're just going to see the line of scrimmage. No fancy level 1 plays like we saw from the Unicorns yesterday.
Luckily, in this game here, we might get more action in the early game just based on this Tristana Janna lane, and then, of course, the Shen, who can always join if they want to go for potential tower dives.
Well, hang on a second to Fischio. I think that's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that a Janna lane will result in action.
I'm just saying, if they're gonna just perma-push that bot lane, HK needs to react and and have some way out of it, and that is by forcing a fight, and that means we should get action.
That would be the hope.
Hopefully.
I would love that.
It might also just be them surrendering on the towers and being like,
My experiences of a Janna are very much shield AD carry. You can do what you like now. And there's not much that Alistair can do about it.
And that's why I play Janna. 1 button to win the lane. Feels pretty good, but gonna have to give respect to Che and Nuclear. Che especially has been incredibly good on the playmaking. Champions his Rakan, you've seen consistently banned away, and for good reason. Have to see if he can put up a similar performance on the Alistair. Does also bang the cowbell for anyone wondering, so.
And also, actually, one thing that happened for H2K during the regular season when they kept beating all the bottom teams was that Nuclear and Che were never really struggling 2v2 against all the bottom teams here in the EU LCS. So Che very often got kind of unleashed. He was actually allowed to leave the lane. He could go mid lane. He could join with Jankos and invade enemy jungle. And he could really utilize the playmaking potential. And I think he looked really good doing that. But against the top teams in Europe, and especially the best bot lanes, we've just seen Nuclear and Che struggle in that 2v2. It means Che cannot leave his lane, and he can't use that good roaming and playmaking potential of his. And then suddenly he's not having the same impact in the early game. And let's see what I can do in this lane down here in the bottom lane. It's going to be a lot on Nuclear specifically against the Tristana.
And you can see that with the Caitlyn, after her nerfs to her wave clear and also the base attack speed that she had during early levels, it means that she doesn't quite have the same level of clear, but they've been able to get a very early level too, and there's that all-in threat that they have to respect. But you're basically trading auto attacks against the abilities plus auto attacks of Reckless that are then further empowered by the Janna shield. So every time she tries to walk up and hit Reckless, the Caitlyn is going to very regularly lose that 1v1.
For now, all is quiet. Bot lane seems to be quite even. We check in on the junglers. Jankos still feels pretty dominant thus far, but no one with a major advantage. Top lane being pushed in as expected, and a bit more aggression on the bottom side. Trap's a little late. Combo not going to work out there. Good invade from Jankos. Once again, Broxah the Smite King will make it out. Permafrost does connect. Odoamne is here, but just going to give it the blast coming.
I like Jankos' focus on top side, though. Really try and get Odoamne to win this lane so he can become a split pusher as well. Force the Shen to play passive, and if Shen ever leaves the lane, then Odoamne maybe can take a tower. Like, you really want to have this Gnar winning. It seems to be the main win condition for H2K. Also looking at the game 5 yesterday, where Unicorns of Love and H2K had this exact top lane matchup.
You've got to remember the power of the package, too, from the Corki. Something that we felt was a little underutilized, I feel, from the Corki, was trying to just use this package around the rest of the map. And what you can do with it is, if you've got so much pressure from the Gnar into the Shen, you just move Featherman up with Jankos and you just use that really good mobility tool to cut off Soaz's escape, set up a dive, and then you allow, well, you could deny the level 6 play on the bot from Soaz, but also just get that Odo rolling.
Can have a very huge impact. But for now, Jungle's trading back and forth. Jankos a little bit behind in terms of XP, paying a little bit more attention to the mid lane.
It's funny, whenever I see, you know, Sejuani, Gragas kind of hit each other once or twice, I think back to the glory days of Lee Sin and Elise always fighting each other, and you're like, someone's gonna die here whenever they find each other. Not in the tank matter, fighting bot lane though.
Right now, all in, exhaust has been used. Reckless taking a lot of damage, trap does not trigger up, that means no free extra crits for Nuclear. But definitely a winning trade in favor. Now Broxa is here, however, Jankos too far away at the moment.
And so far in the bottom lane, Jess has not been able to interrupt the combos from Che. Actually setting up good trades here for H2K specifically. But then Brox is trying to deny Featherman some farm, but again, with Che finding the engages onto Reckless, Nuclear can actually win them as well, and it's allowing H2K's bottom lane to do very well. So good to see from them here in this game 2, the Caitlyn working out.
It's a nice look. I was honestly very concerned when Reckless got his hands on the Tristana again. The Janna a little less aggressive, and Che doing incredibly well on the Alistar. Sort of as expected. It's
just a big problem for Che if he gets interrupted by a Hurricane from a Janna. Like, he won't actually apply his CC onto Reckless, and then suddenly he's taking a lot of damage in return on the way out. Brox has snuck his way in behind H2K. Oh, the all-in from Che. He's going to get punished.
Body slam. Jesus moving forward, trying to lock him down. Good damage comes in from Reckless. Eye of the Storm gives him a big boost. Brox is going to body slam him back. Che is now in trouble, and it looks like he will drop. The heal comes out. Reckless. Flash forward. Jesus moving in. First blood for the Janna.
And they were just waiting for the all-in from Che. The moment that headbutt pulverize came in, Broxa was lying in wait. He came down through the river, utilized the blast gun to catch them off guard. Now Caps is the one that might be in trouble, but he's probably going to flash.
4 stack will get locked up. He's just going to use the cleanse, slow and steady onto Jankos. Lots of...
Oh! Look at the face of frustration there on Jankos. So I was sitting there thinking, hang on a second, if Caps gets another ball down, that's going to be 5 balls to the face. And I don't think a level 4 Jankos is going to be able to hold on to that.
No one ever wants to take that much, Vedius. It's a difficult situation to be in. And I got to say, Fnatic need to be praised. They saw H2K. They saw this play coming. They knew Che was hungry for those engages. Broxa was there to punish.
It's the mind games from Jess in lane, being like, look, Che, you can always engage on my AD carry. I will not do anything. Just keep doing it over and over. And then when Che does it so far up in the lane,
he says, it's not the AD carry you got to be scared of. Flash, Zephyr, Auto, dead.
And the jungler as well. So Jankos trying to force a flash here from Caps. Doesn't realize he's taking so much damage, and there's so many balls on the ground that will soon get fired at him.
But the biggest thing here is that Featherman was just stuck mid. He had to clear the wave. He was not able to support his jungler, and it's level 4 versus level 6. Like, that's just...
I think he just wanted to force a flash or try.
I think so, yeah, I think so.
Walk away. Just walk away.
But then he stuck around a little bit too long, and he gave away his life. So now 2-0 to Fnatic.
And with bot lane struggling now, and mid lane struggling as well, our eyes have to turn naturally to the top side of the map. Gnar should be advantaged. Small CS lead for Odoame. We've seen him be clutch on this champion. But is the lead he has right now big enough? What can this man do to bring his team back into the game?
Well, he really wants that black cleaver as fast as possible to see if he can actually force Source out of lane. We've even seen 1v1 kills in the Gnar versus Shen matchup. But right now, he's not really getting enough time from the rest of his team, because Fnatic, after that little kill in mid and the kill bot lane, are now sending Broxa down to bot lane to place the most obvious TP ward in the world, just to signal, if you move past this ward here and it's still alive, we will TP and kill you. So, good guy Che puts down his control ward to kill it.
Tristana still doing a lot of damage to the tower. Explosion does hit. Looking for the engage onto Broxa. Tower burns down a little bit, but not enough to actually fall.
Another thing I should highlight about the ward we're seeing as the TP is on cooldown from Source is also just to spot if H2K are sending multiple members down the lane in case there is a tower dive being set up by Fnatic. So it wasn't just a TP ward. Overhyped that one a little bit. I was really hoping it would have been. But
also, Shen has an ult.
Shen does have an ult. He doesn't really need it. It was just to give some good vision through the lane. He got control ward anyway. Source is just sitting top and crying because he can't really do anything.
And think about now the options for H2K, because game plan was bot lane goes even. You maybe send Jankos and Feven up to the top lane to try and shut down Soaz early on. Maybe deny his level 6 ultimate play. But now the bottom lane, they already fall behind. Good gank coming out from Broxah. Caps picks up a kill, which puts Jankos behind, meaning that he can't really put any kind of early pressure down due to that setback. And now because of the control that Fnatic have over the bottom lane, H2K are forced to come down to the bot side. And there's just a Shen waiting for the counter game.
It's good though that Odamna, actually, sorry to interrupt there, but it's good that Odamna is actually saving his TP just so he can match.
Yeah.
Because Nuclear is keeping even in farm. He even on the first back actually got a dagger and a BF sword. So because the assist went to Reckless and the kill went to Jessis, it obviously means faster Ardent Sensor, so it actually is a win for Jessis specifically and Fnatic. But it at least means they can keep even.
Package used. Shen all going to be used as well. Cap's running for his life. Good damage comes in. The follow-up now from the Shen as well. Jankos set to burn. Another kill fired out for Fnatic, and already action on the bottom side in response. But Soaz looking for a little bit of a follow-up. The flash forward. Feven going to have to flash out to safety. Caps pretty far away, but Soaz may look to follow this up. Scatter the Weak not going to connect. Blast Cone is there for the escape, but the taunt lands as well. But it's just Soaz versus the Corki.
And it's the Shen ult that you've got to respect. H2K, they tried to put a gank hat down into the middle lane. Immediately Soaz is there to keep his mid laner alive. Caps did use his flash in the exchange, but they've gained pressure mid. Broxah is free to go down to the bottom lane. And things are just snowballing out of control for H2K. And you have to start thinking about that mental fortitude, because Jankos is falling very far behind in this early game.
Still all in, you just talked about it. There is a Mega now for Odamna to try and interrupt it, but he's too far away because Source is already stepped behind his tower. So nothing he could do to actually save Jankos in that mid lane. And as you highlighted, Vedius is a little bit too aggressive of a gank. You can only really pull that off if you know you can interrupt the Shen ulti, which was not the case here.
When we look back on game 2, you can see H2K pretty comfortably in small leads, starting to build it up bigger and bigger. But this game looking a lot more like game 1, where Fnatic are firing shots very early into the game. 2K gold lead, only 11 minutes in. Odamna really the only point of pressure on the map for H2K.
But the fact that H2K is still pushing in top and will get this top lane tower eventually is okay for Odamna specifically. The problem is for the rest of the team. Febiven is behind in mid. His tower will take damage. Bot lane tower is extremely low after some of those plays from before. So it's on Febiven and Nuclear to hold on for as long as possible while Odamna is doing all the work in top. However, one bad fight from H2K and they lose 1 or 2 towers. They're trying to get a kill mid.
Moving in, CC goes down. Cap's going to get locked up, running now for his life as Jankos tries to follow up with a little bit more damage. Rockets from Febiven looking for the sidestep. Caps is donezo though. Odamna going to snag that one.
So finally, H2K get a successful punish. They play around the window that Soaz cannot save the mid laner. No flash available on Caps, and while he plays that as well as he can, the flank or the rundown from Odo gives him a kill, and now this is going to make this 1v1 even better.
And everything around that mid lane is just H2K wards, like control wards as well, and yet Caps without flash, pushing to that tower, over-aggressive, gets punched, and this is huge for H2K to try and get some gold back here, because now they're going to get more damage on top tower. They don't have to worry about the mid lane for a while. And just to say that, Febiven is taking some damage, but he's fine.
Red buff falls off of Broxah. No chance to push any further. Odo will rake that top tower.
Yes, first tower now for H2K. Caps here got very complacent after getting early kills. Being so aggressive in lane without a Shen ulti and any wards around him.
And just a minute ago, it was a 2K gold lead for Fnatic, now brought back. H2K only 500 gold behind, a reasonably negligible difference at this point in the game. Black Cleaver as well, completed for the Gnar. He continues to be a massive threat. But Ardent Sensor now coming in for Jessis. That's a big concern for Nuclear and Che. 80 steroid, on-hit effects. Janna definitely a terrifying prospect to play against, especially when it's the pocket for Reckless.
This obviously means for Fnatic they want to keep playing around that bot side if they can. Odamna snuck his way to the mid lane, still no flash from Caps. Engage bot lane.
Che hitting Jessis. The immediate Monsoon encounter out. TP has been used. H2K hoping to get more from that play, but going to count against them. Caps firing the stun in the mid lane. Just a bit of trading, however. At the end of the day, a lot of resources committed for H2K, but what are they going to get from it?
The thing is here from H2K is they tried to make the play down bot proactively using their teleport, but trying to lock down the Janna and the Tristana, very difficult. You have the Monsoon, you have the jump from Reckless. They are able to get the flash out from the Janna, but now Soaz has both his ulti and TP, which means that Fnatic, they have a lot of options available to them. As you can see with Broxah and Caps moving very aggressively into H2K's jungle.
And Febion just can't join fights. Like, he's so weak in this lane at the moment. Had to go for Hexdrinker as well to try and stay alive. Constantly pushed on the tower by the Syndra, so it's Caps moving first, unless there's a package for Febion.
Flash of Broxah, follow-up, Permafrost does connect. Blue buff used to try to find the disengage. Shen ulti has been consumed. Now looking to find the fight. Moving forward, Reckless hungry for a little bit more. Fnatic pushing further into the blue side jungle. Not gonna get anything. Odo continues the pressure.
Very interesting call there by Fnatic, not actually just committing to the fight, but Broxah disengaged first. I think he was waiting for Source to be out of range from a potential interrupt by the Gnar. And then the re-engage after great stun from Caps suddenly meant they couldn't actually get onto the targets. All of H2K just disengaged. Will be a mid lane tower for Fnatic though, but Uramnik getting a lot of work done in that top lane still.
And of course, Reckless pushing on the bottom side, but that tier 2 so close to death. Odoamne continues to be the strong point for H2K. 30 CS lead in his favor, but Reckless also starting to pull out with a lead of his own. Janna also there to back him up. That's going to be another tower for Fnatic.
So Fnatic just playing it safe around blue buff. Waiting for Source to be ready. Not risking losing just the jungler here, knowing they will get 1 or 2 towers eventually. To get that big goal lead. Should be a Rift Herald though for H2K. Caps is on his way back to lane, but Broxah is recalling, so no one here to actually stop it.
Big win condition right now for H2K is still to play through Odoamne. This guy has been doing extremely well in terms of the early game, and now H2K, they're investing a gank up top.
Right to proc, double bounce, knock up, taunted, knocked into the wall and taken down. Actually, nice pickoff comes in from H2K.
And there's no way for Fnatic to truly punish. They are grouping up as a 3-man around the Dragon area, and his Caps against Febby.
Hope for the 5-ball ult. Could make it 6 for a moment here. Not going to use it though. Baits out the package. Definitely not the ideal use. Meanwhile, Fnatic are going to grab the Ocean Drake.
Yeah, they'll just trade this for the tier 2 in the top lane. Now, bear in mind, Odo, with the minion wave, should be able to just take it down, and then they could potentially use that Rift Herald to siege onto the tier 3. But no, they're actually just going to use it to take down that tower. And I think this is a fine trade for H2K, still keeping the gold relatively close.
I mean, H2K could have gotten a full charge on the next tower if they just saved it. Just a few seconds. Let Uramnik kill the tower here. Will still be some damage on the inhib turret. Sadly for H2K, it's really hard to take it down this early in the game, and Source is here to try and defend and stop Odoamne from doing anything.
Yeah, attacks to the eye, so it's going to grab an extra 25 gold there. But good pressure coming in once again. So much focus on the top side. Febion luckily still farming pretty comfortably. Will start to come back once he can get that Trinity Force.
And it's kind of fun that Odoamne has been getting both his kill and assist due to Fnatic actually overextending in a lane without really having a purpose behind it. Caps did it in mid lane. We had no wards, no flash. Died to Odoamne. Top lane right before you was Source doing exactly the same thing on his side. Died also to the gank here from Che, Jankers, and of course Odoamne. So that's at least some gold going over to this Gnar. That could be very, very useful for him. And now he needs to go to the bottom lane, play around the next few towers, and just keep trying to funnel gold into his team by killing towers in the side lane.
Jankos caught out a little bit, but is still throwing out damage onto Soaz. The Reckless just rips through these towers. The attack speed, steroid, ardent sensor making it all too easy. Taking his time as he clears the wave out as well. Yet another tower dropping for Fnatic. 2.5k gold lead for themselves once again.
And it's important to recognize that Fnatic, they do have a healthy gold lead, as you just identified, Dracos. They still have a strong grasp over the map right now. The only strong point for H2K is Odoamne off on this side lane, but Reckless, he still has a healthy advantage over Nuclear. Caps has been constantly pushing Febion underneath his tower. And while we are keeping our eyes on Odo, like Fnatic still have so much control over the rest of the game.
Have a much stronger mid game as well with a fairly fed Syndra and then an Ardent Sensor Tristana. Caitlyn is still fairly weak in the mid game unless she can utilize her traps, so her damage is very low at the moment. The same can't be said for an almost 2-item Tristana with, again as I highlighted, a attack speed, attack damage shield and an attack speed buff from an Ardent Sensor. Like, Reckless already in the mid game is set up to carry.
One of the players I'm keeping my eyes on in this mid-game will be Broxah. You brought it up in draft, Deficio, where he is one of the main engagers. We did see that during the semi-finals, his confidence was not of the highest. He wasn't the guy starting off a lot of these fights, and he was part of a detriment to a lot of the fights from the side of Fnatic. So a lot of the focus will be on him to try and make things happen and use this early lead that Fnatic can build up for themselves.
And any of those weaknesses you mentioned, it's definitely something you want to prove is no longer a problem as you get ready for the world stage. Fnatic still 1 win away. Qualifying as Europe's 3rd seed. If Brox comes in with a massive performance, if he destroys H2K here, it's going to look so good for him.
Yeah, the good thing for Fnatic is they can rely on just pushing minions at the moment with Janna and Tristana and just constantly force, you know, H2K to try and defend wherever Reckless and Jesus will be going. We know Tristana just need a bit of time on a tower to take it down, but they're trying to use that advantage to say we don't need to actually force teamfights right now, we just need to force down objectives. But again, they're racing against Odo Amner specifically, who's now killed another tower in the bottom lane. Looking for that tier 2 tower as well. And honestly, the nightmare for Odo Amner right now is having to TP away. He wants to just keep pushing 1v1 and not care about the rest of the map.
He wants to go back exclusively for the Frozen Mallet, which he will use to make Soaz's life hell, and he's very close to doing so. 50 CS lead up over Soaz. Odo Amner doing so well this game. H2K, I think the priority on the Gnar, giving up to Tristana, does feel like it was worth it.
So far, at least, Odo Amner is definitely doing everything he can. Now, the problem as a split pusher in a tank meta is that these tank comps can so often just run to Baron, start the Baron, and force the split pusher to react. He needs to TP in and join the fight to stop it from happening. So Fnatic at the moment are just giving it a few more minutes before they might look to just really force that Baron play that forces Odo Amner to teleport, and then he won't be able to just sit bot lane and keep killing towers.
But once again, we enter that mid-game lull. Baron's the next objective, but it's 20 minutes. It's too early to force anything like that. It's the trade of creep waves. It's the push back and forth. They just got to keep focused on the game. Nuclear and Jay focused on a potential engage here.
Ooh, there's actually TPing in now. They're going to try and collapse on them. Broxa is on top side.
Jay here. Ooh, nice interrupt. Flash out. Reckless looks like he could still be okay. Gnar coming in on the backside. Now Fnatic could potentially look to turn. So many cooldowns already burned, but in goes the Porky, in goes the package. Reckless still alive and well. Doing what he can to keep moving forward in the fight. H2K retreating strong as 5. So much damage, but oh no, he wants to turn it back. Nuclear still hitting the backline for free. Shen blocking what he can. Reckless is firing back. Caps is firing back. Featherman is running for his life. He's looking to get the bounces. He's looking to keep it going. He wants to go to Worlds. Fnatic in control.
It's a huge team fight. We already talked about how much stronger the Tristana will be here in the mid game compared to a Caitlyn. There's so many buffs from Reckless. He already sits on 2 items. And Caps, of course, after winning that mid lane. H2K just tried to force a team fight. They didn't even have to go for it. They could just keep split pushing with Odo Amner, but they go for that all-in against Reckless and Jessis.
And they saw an opportunity here. They saw 2 members of Fnatic out of position. They thought that they could punish, but again, the Shen ultimate, the fact that Gragas was running up through the river.
And that interruption here from Jessis on the combo from Jay was also key to get away.
And just keep your eyes on Caps here. His ability to land this 4-man stun onto H2K is what gives them time to regroup. Yanko's, the big front line, now gone. Odo, there's not enough follow-up damage, and Reckless is just untouched in the fight.
Dealing so much damage here after Caps' beautiful stun. And as we said before here, this is actually the moment where H2K are weak in this game. They do not have an AD carry who can deal proper damage. They have a split push who's winning the side lane. But by making this play here, trying to catch Reckless and Jessis out, they allowed Fnatic a 5-on-5 team fight because they can use Shen ulti and they have both Broxa and Caps close to where we saw this, fight break out.
Soaz is going to land the taunt. Good to see a fight here. Odo Amner going to get knocked back. Good damage drops onto him.
Ooh, Jay.
H2K composition good at sieging, not so great at the wave clear though at this moment in the game. Means that Fnatic are pretty comfortable pressing forward.
Jay can't do anything because Odo Amner's back in base, so he's just kind of sitting behind Fnatic.
All alone. That's going to be an inhibitor tower taken down. Inhibitor is next. This is going to be a big difference. Soaz is simply backing up. That's a lot of damage. Jankos is the last ditch effort from the fight. They are going to take down Caps. Jay on the backside is going to get the 3-man knockup. Reckless the most important target remaining. Knocked back into the team. Odo Amner trying to do what he can, but Reckless does so much damage. Soaz being the front line, Jesus shielding him up, that's the double. He's looking for a little bit more. The trap, the saving grace for H2K. He's gonna grab the triple. Fnatic are cleaning house.
Huge team fight once again for Fnatic. They stop the comeback from H2K. There will be no reverse sweep today. And 23.5 minutes. Fnatic are going to take the 3-0.
And it was not choking for H2K. It was Fnatic proving themselves worthy of that spot in Worlds. It is the 3-0. It is the third seed. It is Fnatic back on the world stage. Fantastic performance across the board. It was dominance in Game 1 and Game 3. In Game 2, it was a comeback, I think, of epic proportions. Has to feel good for the Fnatic members.
The best team in the regular season. Struggled in playoffs. Lost the semifinal to Misfits, then bounced back in the third place game, but had to go through the gauntlet here to actually make it to Worlds. Very, very important win for the players and the organization.
But their tough road doesn't end now. They've got to go to the play-ins. There's going to be a lot of tough competition. But they will still have to get through in order to qualify for the World's group stage.
It's important, though, that Fnatic have a superstar AD carry they can definitely rely on during the play-ins to try and qualify to the group stages. Same thing can say about Source up in the top lane. What a great split from him overall.
It's been a good look for the team across the board. The all-ins on the bottom side from Justice and Reckless. A few of those team fights from Caps on the Syndra. The 4-man stun you pointed out, Vedius. Coming in clutch. The grin on Brox's face, I think that says it all. That man is going to Worlds. That man is going to China. For H2K,
it's rough for them, right?
It's hard.
They had a really good gauntlet run. They were able to get very close games, but a 3-0 regardless over Splice. They went all 5 games. They finally were able to defeat their rivals, but they just couldn't match up to Fnatic on
I mean, they're mainly going to be looking at that game 2 and say, guys, we had it all. Like, it was right there. We were going to win that game, bounce back in this series. But when you lose a game like that, it's so hard then going into the next game to kind of reset everything. And we saw in this game here early on, there were some people getting punished. Like, Cap suddenly got a few kills in the mid lane from Jankos. Down in the bottom lane as well, the first gank was a success from Brox, and then suddenly Fnatic were looking really strong, and it seemed almost impossible for H2K to bounce back.
and across the series, one player did stand out. Our player of the series will be Reckless. A lot of highlight moments from many Fnatic players, but Reckless was the consistent threat. Did not die in this series.
And you can just see from his CS scores how convincing he was in terms of the laning phase. To be fair, game 2, his high kill participation was because, remember, Fnatic, they had 0 kills in the first 25 minutes, and then they won a bunch of fights because he got to that late game Sivir point.
Important for him, though, to make Worlds again. He talks about this a lot, about how last year was such a huge disappointment for him. They had to rebuild the Fnatic roster after losing Huni and Reignover. The roster didn't click. As a captain, he struggled as well to have the impact he wanted to have, and the team failed to make the World Championship for the first time. And the fact that now they return to play, I should say for the second time, because Season 2, technically, they didn't make it, so I'm just going to stop myself there. The history is important. They're back at Worlds, though.
They're back at Worlds. I love it. You're very dramatic hand motions.
A lot of fans are going to be excited.
Like, Season 2.
So we have G2, we have Misfits, and we have Fnatic representing Europe at Worlds. The only one left is North America, which will be happening later on this evening. But I think a lot of fans are very happy with our representatives. I feel like H2K, they definitely put up a good show. But at the end of the day, they couldn't quite match up to the power of Fnatic. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do on the internationals.
When we look at like Gauntlet expectations, when you look back at what we thought before we saw any of these teams play, Fnatic were the safe bet. And I think for good reason. Maybe Splice was a dark horse. Maybe Unicorn is a love. H2K also, after their showing in third place, I still felt pretty confident that they could get there. But when it came down to it, Fnatic with a 3-0, that's, I think, the best thing that could have happened for them now to go to Worlds as well.
Yeah, exactly. Also because the play-ins will start very soon. You do not have a lot of time to prepare for the next thing. And having the confidence and knowing that the current style you're playing actually works, at least in your home region, to make you one of the best teams that can go to Worlds is important for them. Obviously, there's a few patches happening, but no insanely big changes.
Curious to see, of course, coming up shortly will be Reckless, our player of the series, on the post-game lobby. Excited to hear what he has to say about the series, about worlds ahead of him, about being the captain. He had so much to say in that MVP interview. I have to imagine it feels good for him to finally qualify. But it was a lot on the line this week, and the players stepped up with some solid performances. Let's take a moment to highlight the biggest plays brought to you by Acer Predator. Now, Febiven, he found himself surrounded in Game 3 versus Splice. Instead of running away, he decided to fight back and managed to pull off a big turnaround.
Let's see if they can pick up Febiven. Nowhere for him to go trying to lead these minions all the way through. Still dangerous, cornered. If Syndra gets a pick off, that's going to be hashtag worth.
This could be like one of the biggest outplays.
Yeah, but wait for the Jarvan. Just wait for the Jarvan. Auto teleport.
Trash is on the way, he's trying to ruin it. Oh, he's
The sun is in! Oh my goodness, you gotta turn it around! He gives his life. Febiven falling, but he did his job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jarvan is from Jarvan coming on the side. Oh, nice. I kill Jarvan, I will kill Jarvan.
Okay, I go to you.
If you kill Jarvan, we can jump.
All right, so that's why they banned Chase Rakan, in case you were wondering. That little two-man instantaneous knockup right there.
Yeah. After the stun landed from Febiven, though, like, that was a big play from the Syndra. Just kind of dancing around, not dying, being so low, and then landing a stun into, like, you know, a little bit of burst damage.
We were
Really good
debating this at
coordination.
length. We're like, at this point in Splice, you just have to suicide someone in, hope that he burns skills on them so the other guy can get the kill. There's just, it feels like there's no way out at that point.
Yeah.
Really good play from Febiven. He was considered, during the regular season, to be the best performing mid laner, and I think that he still is definitely among the top here in Europe.
Definitely the case. Well, H2K's Odawamne had some big engages against Unicorns of Love yesterday. In Game 2, he caught Samix out of position and flashed in to secure that kill. Exile comes out of the brush. The ward in the mid lane does give H2K a lot of information. Moving around, Jankos is off to the side. They see Unicorns of Love in the pinch. Exile retreats. Samix in a lot of trouble here, leaping forward.
Oh.
Beautiful play from Odawamne. Not going to be a chance for Samix to make it out in the end.
That was so good from Odo. He knew that he was going to get knocked back from the Tristana ultimate, so he flashes, uses his ulti, which cannot be interrupted by CC, to then avoid the knockback from Samix. Now, this is arguably a little risky from Odo, but he knows what he can do there. The flash ulti from Odo, knowing that he cannot be displaced.
I can go on Rumble here.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Look.
I will come.
Tristana or what? Tristana flash.
Tristana.
Can you chase?
Nice.
Good job.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, can we go mid hard? Go mid hard. Look, Syndra maybe. Should I ult?
I don't know we.
I feel like that color caster broke that down perfectly. I don't know if there's really much to add to what he said.
I mean, that's true. I actually, funny
He's
enough,
technically immune to all CC. It's not just that he can't be displaced. So the codecaster was
there's a little bit more to it. Funny enough, I actually talked to Odo after the series, and he was like, yeah, that game with Jarvan, man, I mean, I was so bad in the early game. Everything he did was just wrong. But then, for some reason, past 20 minutes, he just like turned it on, and he just did everything perfectly on Jarvan. So that was quite
We
impressive.
highlighted him as player of the series. Then you look at the Game 1 score where they won. It's like 1-3 and a bunch of assists.
Yeah.
But he did so much work. Of course, in the end, did fall, and it wasn't looking good for Fnatic in Game 2 today. Then their Danish jungler decided to take matters into his own hands and came up with a clutch Baron steal. Now it's all on Broxa. So much pressure on him once again. Now he needs to secure from the other side. Can he be the member to leap over the walls to take this Baron down? Eyes on the Baron. 4K health getting lower. Febiven will have the miasma. Is he going to block the entrance? 2K. That's going to be burned down. He does get it! Broxa! That's the hero Fnatic needs, but now they have to face the fight. Febiven is moving forward, but the flashes are used, and they're going to walk away with the Baron. Guys, it's the exact opposite of Game 1.
I think just jump in.
No.
Nice.
Just leave. Whoever can leave. Nice guys, nice.
Good job. Just like scrims, guys.
Nice guys, nice.
Good job. Just like scrims, guys.
Now we have 7 more minutes.
Just like scrims, guys. Just like
All
scrims.
part of the plan.
Man, that play just kills me so hard, man. H2K just had the easiest setup in the world.
You said it best, Officio, during the downtime. Hey, it's not like Baron's a new objective. It's been in the game for 7 years.
All 5 members had flash ready. Multiple had already jumps they could use over the wall. The marker was already in the flanking position. There were like a million ways to just jump over that wall and kill all the Fnatic players instead of allowing them to actually get it 50-50.
Yes, that is very true, but
It happened.
the burst from Caps and the coordination.
It's true.
That mid-jungle synergy.
Nothing you could do against that at all.
If there's anything we've learned from Rift Rivals so long ago, it's that the only thing that matters is mid-jungle synergy.
Exactly.
It's true, and we saw it right then. That's why Fnatic will go to Worlds.
That is why they will go to Worlds.
The team with the best.
I also love that what didn't make our big playlist was Reckless, like, multiple triple kills back to back, and it's because it happens so frequently that it's like no longer a highlight worthy. Well, that's going to do it from us here at the Caster Desk. Let's send it over to Shox for that post-game lobby.